Return of Mount Hua Sect, Novel Chapter 261 Part 1, Worldly Murim Competition Arc. Before we start, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to be always updated on our future contents. King Ho was warmly heated by the news that was brought by the early autumn wind. The Worldly Murim competition is on. It was even being hosted by the Shaolin Sect. And what was the Shaolin Sect? Wasn't it a place that had been called the peak of martial arts for a long time? There were many sects in the world, but none of them dared to compare their influence with the Shaolin Sect. The Shaolin Sect, which had been a benefactor of King Ho even before the demonic sect's incident that had happened 100 years ago, finally broke their silence and began to take giant steps again. Naturally, the attention of many strong people, who hadn't heard of any recent groundbreaking incident for conducting the tournament, was now focused on Mount Song. When two or more powerful people gathered, stories would be shared, and if there were 3 or more gathering, there would be all kinds of things happening that a single night couldn't cover. The story was in full swing during the Lunar New Year in Luoyang. Of course, it is important, a rat-faced man said. But it isn't really important. Didn't they say that there was a spar competition that would happen as well? This is the most important thing. Hearing those words, the man frowned. Isn't that supposed to be a place where the possible masters fight? Su, it seems like you don't know. Have you ever heard of a sect's elders coming to fight or spar in a tournament? Well. The man with the horse face frowned. As he thought more about it, he realized that he had never heard anything about elders coming out to fight. The rat-faced man arrogantly leaned back in his chair. Normally, that is what a spar means. Those who risk their lives for the sake of face and pride just so that they compete in front of others who might be stronger. That is why the sects raise their disciples. Is that the reason? It is. At the question, he raised his voice. It isn't about which sect is strongest right now in this spar, but rather, who will take the lead in the next 10 years. 10 years. The people participating in the spar right now are all people who will be the foundations of their sects in the future. These people are probably around 30 years old right now, but wouldn't they be close to 40 in 10 years? That is obvious, right? By the time they are 40, they would have turned into the backbones of the sect. In other words, the people who are competing now will become the center of a sect's strength in 10 years. So, this spar can be considered to be a loose prediction of the future of a sect. This is a very important thing. I see. The horse-faced man nodded his head. He had finally understood. It meant that even if the current best sect wasn't known, one would be able to guess which sects would become the best in the future through this tournament. And even if they didn't necessarily win, the reputation of the sect would still rise, and good results would only increase. So, who do you think will win this competition? That is a difficult question. The rat-faced man gently grabbed his bottle. He then frowned as he shook it, noticing that it had become lighter than before. Cuck. I want to talk, but I am so thirsty for this. Ah, man, bring me a bottle here. Alcohol. Alcohol is good. And if I take strong alcohol, it helps my throat to speak properly. Server, we don't want a flower extract. Get us a bamboo leaf one. Coco. When the bamboo leaf alcohol, which was 3 times more expensive than the normal one, was ordered, the rat-faced man smiled and said, Who do you think will win? Of course, we are talking about the outcome of the competition, right? You are just speaking nonsense. It is because it is difficult. Is it even possible to find 1 or 2 outstanding people with the current situation of the sects? At the ambiguous words, the man with the horse face twitched. I gave you alcohol, but you are saying such absurd things. This is something that even I could answer. Ho, then tell me. Aren't there already people who have the attention of King Ho on them, the 5 dragons? Coco. The rat-faced man laughed. This is why you know nothing. Huh, why? What about the 5 dragons? Do you mean that the 5 who have achieved the most outstanding achievements will be good? Right. Aren't they going to be everyone's favorites? Such ignorant words. What are the criteria for evaluating someone who is strong? That. The man couldn't answer and hesitated, making the other chuckle. This is how the evaluation in King Ho happens. It strictly depends on what an individual has done within King Ho. In other words, the 5 dragons were just people who stood out until now. The man with the rat face paused for a moment and snatched the bamboo leaf alcohol from the server before it had even reached their table and started drinking from the bottle. After about half the bottle was emptied, the rat-faced man continued. Among those who are flocking to Mount Song right now, it heard that even the shining jewels who haven't stepped out of their sects will be coming. Right. For example, the Broken Mountain Sword of the Southern Island Sect, who is known to be the best in the last 100 years, and the Ching Sect's Noon Han, who is loved by the sect leader. That is exactly what I am saying. Taking all those things into consideration, you can predict a winner. Right. Huh, this guy is good at scratching the pride of others. Fine. If you come out like that, I have nothing to say. The man slammed his hand on the table. If I have to bet, it will be on the Wu-Dang sect. Wu-Dang. Right. Even if the force of the Wu-Dang sect has decreased a little bit now, it doesn't have the title of prestigious behind it for nothing. Maybe we will see the Wu-Dang sect rise again this time. Wu-Dang sect. The Wu-Dang sect. How? Well, does the Wu-Dang sect even have the power to do that? Weren't they humiliated by Mount Hua just recently? What? You believe the rumor that Mujin of the Wu-Dang sect was defeated by Mount Hua's divine dragon? It is a rumor. Why do I have such a stupid friend? The rat-faced man's eyes narrowed. Still, do you mean that someone who just said he has a strong sense for things believes such rumors? What is this? A rumor about a young boy taking down a full-grown man is something you want to believe. Saying that, he drank from the bottle again. Martial arts is like good alcohol. The longer it stays, the better its flavor becomes. How often does a freshly brewed one taste good? Besides, a good environment is also necessary for the alcohol to ripen properly. Divine Dragon, it is too early to call him that. However, the expression on his face was still incomprehensible. But didn't Mount Hua win over the Southern Edge sect as well? I heard that only the third-class disciples were defeated there. You must know that the second-class disciples are the ones who have the most solid foundation. Right. Isn't that enough proof that the third-class disciples will lose to the second-class disciples of the Southern Edge sect who had won all their matches? If the fight happens again, will Mount Hua win, huh? No, still, Mount Hua's divine dragon. Know this, people without fundamentals have their limits. I guarantee this. I don't know if Mount Hua will even participate in this competition or not, but if they do, it will be a disgrace for them. Yeah, aren't you being too harsh? Heh, harsh. Let's see. If there is someone who will be the most disgraced in this competition, it will be the Mount Hua Sect. Well, I wonder if a sect with no roots and one that is facing decline will even show its face here. Ha ha. Even when the man burst into laughter, the horse-faced man said nothing. It was then. Kwang. The door of the guest house opened like it was being broken, and a man walked in. The two of them turned their heads in shock and went silent as they saw the customer. A black uniform, and there was a plum pattern on the chest. Silence. Silence. It was a dress they had heard about a lot. So that is Mount Hua. No way. To be continued. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified for upcoming updates.